A warning, this podcast will contain spoilers to the anime and visual novel Robotics notes. I highly recommend you watch it. It's really great. And when you do, come back and listen to this. But on with the podcast. Hello, and welcome to Marxist Clover, the podcast where we take a sometimes critical and sometimes not so critical look at anime. I'm your host, Eric Hobbs-Bond, and here's my co-host, the Engels next door. Engels, how are you doing?
Doing good. It is International Podcasters Day, at least my computer told me so.
And I think you have a fact to share with the class?
We are going to be talking about an anime today called Robotics Notes, and fun fact for you, it has been 10 years since we've watched this show, and the show takes place 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Is this a cosmic? Is there a reason why we're doing this? That we are exactly... when we watched this in 2014, we were 5 years away from the show happening, and now we're 5 years away from the show happening.
The only problem is both of us have watched it again since at various times.
I've only watched it twice in the last 10 years, once with you and once by myself. So, our subject matter today is Robotics Notes. For those who don't know what it is, I'm going to hand it over to Hansband.
Yeah, today we're talking about Robotics Notes. It's, I think, the third installment of a visual novel series that were all turned into anime. The visual novel series is called Science Adventure. But I think everyone just calls it the Semicolon series because of the naming conventions. So the first one is Chaos, Semicolon, Head. Next one is Steins, Semicolon, Gate. And today's subject, Robotics, Semicolon, Notes. It's not great use of the semicolon, and I am a stickler for proper semicolon usage, but I'll let it slide, because 2 of the shows are bangers.
Yeah, there's also, sequels to this called Robotics Notes Dash. Neither of us know anything about what happens in Robotics Notes Dash, despite the fact that it is available to play in the United States. So, history with this. At this point, when we watched the show, because we brought up the fact earlier that we watched this 2014, so I'd watched Chaos Head first, then I'd watched Steins Gate, then I showed you Steins Gate, and then I feel like a year or so later we watched this show.
Mm-hmm.
And surprise, surprise, let's just start from the beginning. Do you like this show?
I love it.
I love it too. It's great. It's a great show.
I think the only problem it suffers is the comparison with Steins Gate, because nothing can really compare with Steins Gate. But if you judge it on its own merit, it's such a great show, and I have watched it many times.
It's a nice progressive show where it keeps building on itself. It's one of those things where the very beginning of it makes you think it's a different show, but then you realize, no, it is that show. It just takes a long time to get to that point.
Does the balance between slice of life and plot really well?
It does. There's a lot of fun interactions. I really love the banter between our 2 main characters.
So before we get to the characters, so one thing I did notice when I was researching this is the visual novel came out in June 2012.
Nice.
And then the anime aired in October that same year.
Really?
Yes. So they were definitely working on the anime before the visual novel was published.
That's interesting because, when we talk about the characters, I mean, we already know that the true path is Mr. Pleiades, so he must have been a romanceable option. But you can't really tell. We probably one day might talk about Steins Gate, but Steins Gate and Chaos Head, the 2 other previous adaptations, definitely have a visual novel flair, to it where you could definitely tell that there's like different women.
Robotics Notes does a good job of choosing a part and doesn't try to shoehorn other parts in.
And I think like also like a lot of the other characters kind of couple up. Like I feel like there's something between two of the other supporting cast members, or at least.
Okay, that might just be your shit.
I think Mr. Pleiades wants June to happen. I don't think June's ever going to happen for Mr. Pleiades.
Wow.
But I ship that.
No, the anime definitely was written pretty well.
I think so.
Like, it's hard to adapt a visual novel into an anime because there's so many examples of it just goes sideways and tries to do everything, and it's kind of a mess. And no, Robotics Notes is a nice, tight story.
Yeah, and I hate comparing it to the others, but I think Chaos Head and Steins Gate also have this thing where the protagonists are very strong characters, where they're not necessarily what I feel like very visual novel characters of that era. Even though I don't want to put too much respect on Chaos Head, but because like the main character at times is kind of he's just kind of a prick, to be perfectly honest with you, in this show. I like him. He's a nice guy. Yeah, he definitely has his own personality. He's not like
he's super nice.
He's super nice, but he also he has like a cantankerousness about him. He has a heart of gold, but he wants you. He's like, if you beat me at Kill Ballad, everything will be good.
Yes, so he's one of the top players in the world at a.
Since we talked about a fighting game in a previous episode, so. This is, from what I understand of watching Kill Ballad, this is what we call an arena fighter. Or else it might be like Tekken. It might be like a 3D game, or else it looks like a 3D fighter. So let's just say, to give it its flowers, it's like a Tekken, which is like the premier 3D fighter game. But to be fair, the way that he's playing this game, it just looks like he's pressing the buttons really quickly. And it, also, this might be me, because I'm old, so are you, that touch screen controls for action games just to kind of break my brain a little bit.
I don't know how you can do it without that haptic feedback.
I don't know either.
That sounds insane.
I mean, when I've tried playing like some of the mobile games, like some of the Hoververse or whatever those games are, like the Honkai Star Rail and stuff. That one, you don't have to involve like a lot of action stuff, but there is like an action game that starts with like a Z or something. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to try that because it scares me to actually play an action game without a controller. The haptic feedback is so important to me.
I mean, it's the thing that it's hard to imagine being at the top of a game. So I kind of like this, where you kind of have to get to imagine someone who is at the top.
Yeah.
And there is a discussion, and like, say this comes up a lot in chess, is the higher up in level you go, the more prevalent cheating is.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of talk about cheating in this show.
There is.
So, no, it is a good job of fleshing out that game. But yeah, no, so Kaisho Yashio, our main character, has plenty of personality.
I think so.
Which is unusual, which is hard to do for a visual novel. Because in a visual novel, the main character is you.
Yeah, I think he's not like... Yeah, as we said earlier, he's weird. He kind of grows on you as a character. Like, I don't think I initially really liked him.
Yeah, like he's not there for you, but he's also always there for you. Like, he doesn't help you, but he's super dependable at the same time. It's very dichotomous.
He has very dude energy. It's like, if you ask him to do something, he won't do it. But he will do it. But he will do it after a while.
If he realizes you need something,
he's a grand gesture guy.
He will do what you need even if you don't ask. But he won't do what you want even when you ask.
Yes. Unless you beat him at Kill Ballad.
Let's move on to the main female lead as chosen by the anime.
Akio Sanomiya.
She's the archetype, the perfect version of the Genki girl.
No, I really like Akio. I thought she's a cutie. She has, as you said, bundles and bundles of energy. She has depth. And I think that's the thing about this show is that everybody in the show has depth.
Yeah.
She comes off very early as like a Genki girl. She believes in the Genki.
Yeah.
She is the Genki, but there's a sadness to her.
There's a lot of sadness. And there's like an iron will.
There is an iron will. That she is every man's dream. She wants to build a giant robot that her sister basically built most of it for her.
She really lifts everybody
She
around her.
does. She's a good leader. I think the big trick this show does is that Akio is the heart and soul of this show, and the main guy kinda is as well, but it's really Akio's show.
Yes, yes. I guess you mentioned Mr. Pleiades.
Yes, so Mr. Pleiades is this cool dude. He goes around, wins like robot competition, and he's just a cool dude.
And then he joins the club.
He does join the club, but his dad doesn't like the fact that he does robot stuff. I don't necessarily remember, even though I recently watched this, why his dad doesn't want him to do the robot stuff. Oh, because he wants to become a fisherman. Right.
Yeah, the setting of this is quite unusual. It's on a small island.
Yes, like Roxxon.
I mean, Tokyo also was in Roxxon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And technically, is Tokyo at that point an island in Roxxon? This is a completely weird tangential conversation because I guess probably is an argument that Tokyo is an island in that show. It's not really connected to anything because it's kind of that Tokyo Jupiter basically makes it separated from everything else.
But this is very much a countryside island.
Yeah, definitely.
It is very much. You do kind of feel like you're in a small contained world.
We've got Jas's there.
Oh yes, the space agency is there,
Yeah,
and that is probably the most exciting thing happening on the island.
it's true.
The creator of the game that Kaito Yasho plays, Fao Kojiro. I know she has a real name, but I think everyone remembers her as Fao.
Frau Bao.
Oh yeah, Fao Bao.
There's a whole plot line in this show that I didn't remember while I was watching it, where they name the robot they're building. Also, they're building a giant robot. I guess we should. I guess that's something that happens in this show.
You did mention that.
Yeah. But like, they named it after a show called Gun Barrel, which is like this show that was being made, and the final episode doesn't air. Oh, her mom was was the director.
Right.
And like everybody that made Gun Barrel like dies.
Yeah. So Akio is like personally connected with this show that she also happens to just love just watching and referencing at every possible juncture.
Yes. Gun Barrel Marathon, Unlimited Gun Barrel Marathon. I don't know if we'll ever talk about that, but for those who know, you know.
Okay, and then we get to June.
Yeah, June.
Who's the Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. Yeah, she's fun. Voiced by Monica Rail in English. Does a really good job.
The dub in the show is excellent.
It's very, very good. Not a lot of names. I'm even not entirely used to hearing of that era as well.
So with June is a conspiracy theory nut.
That's right, she is. Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something you want to talk about with this show.
Yes, because yeah, it's not something we noticed so much in 2014.
No, definitely not.
So she's like into like local legends.
Yeah.
And it kind of spirals from there.
Yes.
So it seems very harmless.
Yeah.
But in the culture of 2024, like
Yeah.
she's gonna soon be holding for DRS to trigger OS.
Yeah. I mean, could have tried to hold the float.
She coulda.
DRS.
It's weird this anime takes place a year before COVID. I know it's existed in its own universe, but it's really weird that this anime takes place less a year before COVID hits.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean anything, of course, but it's just a funny observation because it takes place in 2019.
Yeah, and you wanted to list some of the conspiracy theories of 2012, 2014.
Yeah,
And it's interesting because between this and Steins Gate,
yeah,
I think a lot of them are covered.
yeah,
It's some of the memorable parts of Steins Gate is how they incorporate real conspiracy theories. I mean, real in that the theories exist in real life.
yeah.
But now, even Okabe going down that rabbit hole isn't as pleasant.
No, not at all.
The 2020s have ruined conspiracy theories for us.
I mean, like, even back then, I think there's still like especially in the United States, there was always a fear that if you went down the conspiracy theory hole, you would eventually get to kind of an anti-Semitic or a racist place after a certain while. Like, there were funny, there were some more funny ones. I mean, but fair, I wasn't much of a conspiracy theory guy then, but as I think you're trying to say, is that I don't think the conspiracy theories was really even a big deal in this show. It was just a plot device. Now it's like if you have a conspiracy theory that in like a show now, it just kind of feels weird at times.
I mean, the show does have a giant world affecting conspiracy in it.
Yes.
Same with Steins Gate.
Yes.
And yeah, they were kind of playful and fun. And yes, people were worried about the conspiracy rabbit hole, but it wasn't as powerful of a whirlpool. Like, it's so easy to get dragged into these.
And now it's like a pipeline where if you go to where I feel like back then, like you do one conspiracy and then you would stay in that one conspiracy. You wouldn't like
You're in one
out,
community.
You wouldn't branch out into other conspiracies. Now it's like all conspiracies have ways of
because the algorithm is going to know that you like a certain type of content. And you will see it.
Keep pushing you down that conspiracy theory. I mean, this show's also strange because it's also like in a weird, like, social media exists type of reality. YouTube isn't really that big of a thing still. Because, like, this show was released in 2012, which, for us...
Right.
But, like...
I mean, someone releases a bootleg version of the final Gun Battle episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's spread, but it's like, and this is like 2019. It's just really funny to think this is the future that they leaked the gun barrel episode, and it's like when it's like bootleg, it's unfinished. Like you can still see like the hand drawn stuff is in this final episode. Like they didn't even finish doing all of the coloring or anything for this final episode.
Right, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That somebody got a hold of the outlines.
Yeah.
But no, what I mean is, in terms of technology, they did post it on I'm assuming it's YouTube.
That is true. That is true.
And it is very easy to fall down these rabbit holes. Like, most of what we know about conspiracy theories, we probably know from Dan Olson.
Yeah, a lot of, like, some of the more modern stuff, yeah.
Yes, from the Folding Ideas YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I think he does a good job demonstrating in This Is Not Financial Advice. His video about meme stocks.
Yes.
And there's a sunk cost fallacy that will make you want to grab onto other fallacies. And before you know it, you have some weird scheme that would crush the entire economy by holding one stock.
In GameStop, or Marathon, AMC.
Yeah. The arrested.
Yes, to the extent that they started deciphering messages in a children's book.
For a second there, I thought, wait, are you talking about Robotics notes? Their version of it is playing Pokemon Go, or basically bizarre geocaching, and then you find information, and then you basically get to decipher messages.
Yes, but that's kind of completely different, though, right? Because the game exists in Robotics notes to reveal that information to you.
That is true. That is true.
It's not really a conspiracy in the sense that the participants in the game aren't coming up with the ideas. It's instead the game is telling them the information directly.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But yeah, this show kind of plays around with like the mystery of the song playing in an empty building. And just small little mysteries like that, and then it builds up to like a global threat.
Yes, yes, it does. It's a crazy show. Like it's weird remembering that one character, like one of the character deaths in this show, is pretty
It's
crazy
it's pretty memorable.
in terms of like the horror of technology. Like, I think that's like some of the best bits of like. Should we describe it?
We could describe
Yeah.
it. We'll put a spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning. So basically, somebody has basically robotics that help them move around, but their robotics are hacked, and that leads to their death.
Which is a very real concern now in the era of a lot of biomedical equipment.
In the Internet of Stuff, where everything is connected to the internet. It's like how today, this is not similar, but it's weird today. One of the weird things that happened to me technologically is that my phone service was down for the whole day. And it was really weird to just not have access to my phone. I mean, I don't use my phone all the time while I'm at my work, but it's weird not having access to look at my phone and how integral a lot of Internet of Stuff is. And especially if you care about the biomedical stuff, where this is legitimately a big breakthrough. This is helping somebody move.
Yeah, when your mobility is dependent on technology, it's going to be a big part of your life.
And even like this is something that the show didn't even talk about really, is that seeing that sometimes it just makes you think about people advocate for the self-driving car future and other mobility options. It's just like still the Luddite in me fears the self-driving future. Being able to give people the ability to walk, but also making it internet connected, it's just it makes sense, but it's also just so weird.
Mm-hmm. And hackers have recently been in greater and greater numbers every year, targeting hospitals, schools, therapy offices, places that have sensitive information, but may not have the infrastructure to protect it, because they're not as used to being hacked as a large multinational corporation. The interesting thing about the Robotics Notes hack, if you could call it that, it was targeted, and this device was created in order to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Like, there is a backdoor. So it is a bit odd comparing this to direct hacking, but it is just one thing we need to be aware of, particularly since most hacking happens through the human part. Someone persuades someone to give out the password or some other detail.
And I think we were talking about this earlier, is that this is the weird thing about this show, is that this show isn't as cruel as reality, and that the future this was predicting was a lot brighter and optimistic with the Internet of Stuff.
In 2012, we were still thinking the internet was just gonna unite the world, bring more connections, interconnectedness is good, and will create a more empathetic world. Turns out human psychology didn't work that way when confronted with social media. It's very hard to explain to people who weren't around back then, the optimism.
Yeah.
But it was very genuine, and now it looks so silly.
Oh, yeah, I think the only time the show captures the ridiculousness of this is in the Kill Ballad. I think that's like the most true to form. The only thing it's missing is like more like egregious insults.
The game.
Yeah, because even then you don't really see the dissing and sledging.
Yeah, there's no comment section in Kill Ballad.
No, but like they also do talk about like bots and cheating, which I think you brought up earlier. But like that is still a problem, I think, in some video games where people worry about bots and hacks. Technically, the main character does cheat because he has strange disease where
he has a strange medical condition that can be beneficial in some ways.
Yes.
Even if it's very painful.
I like that. So both the main characters have this medical condition, but it's like the opposite version of each other.
Yes.
And Akio's condition is awful.
So she starts perceiving time
Yeah.
as traveling really fast, and she's like kind of stuck in
Yeah.
slow motion. And Yasho, he experiences time slowing down, so he's able to
React quickly.
he has more time to make split-second moves. Going through other tech topics that are mentioned in robotics notes that are a bigger deal now.
Yeah.
There is an AI.
There is. There's two technically, but one of them gets deleted. Because there is the Moe
Which one's
one.
that?
They're the same AI, but then one of the personalities gets deleted.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's the fun one that gets deleted.
It's always the fun one.
Even though technically it's based off another personality. It's based off a real person that's in cryo sleep.
Right. It's a very canon type situation, or Foucault inclined.
Foucault.
And I think the AI in robotics notes is what people think of when they think of AI.
Definitely. If you would have told me, hey, can you build a rubric for me, AI? I've been like, that's not cool. I don't want an AI to build me a rubric. Like,
We imagine something that can think and has its own personality and like knows things.
or it's like Her. That movie was Joaquin Phoenix, where he's dating his house. His house is AI.
Right. And that's another example of where perception of time gets in the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what people think of with AI, which I think that's still what people think it is, and that's why it's such a draw for venture capital, and people are like getting scared about ChatGPT. And the problem is, large language models aren't anything like that AI. Like, if we get that type of AI,
Yeah.
it will not be a successor of ChatGPT. It would be a completely different technology.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is people are projecting the classic sci-fi version of AI onto large language models, who kind of are hitting a wall because they're running out of data to learn from.
Yeah, I think that's why you hear so many reports of they're now trying to hire people to at times write for the AI.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I haven't heard this running into a wall though. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, there's a good Adam Conover podcast about it.
Interesting.
And we all have lived in this world of Moore's Law, which Moore's Law, if you don't know, was this theory that every year computer chips would get twice as good, twice as fast, twice as powerful.
Yeah.
And this was made decades ago. And Moore's Law is no longer true, but it's still pretty insane how much computer chips develop.
Yeah.
And we are so used to that, and we just assume that's all technology.
That's
So
true.
we see ChatGPT, we see large language models, and we're like, well, imagine what it could do in 2 years.
I mean, that's still the discussion I remember seeing earlier this year with like some of the AI footage stuff and comparing it to what you saw the year before. And you're like, oh yeah,
Right.
it looks weird. I mean, it's still mostly like the anime fan art that's on Facebook is still this really glossy, creepy looking stuff that's also flooding like the video game marketplace. Like you see a bunch of like random AI art where it's like,
Oh no.
I'm happy we're living in the grift economy. People didn't know that technology is just going to bring drifting into the next gen. PS5 Pro is the next gen. AI hot girls being sold as puzzles, which are already dumb enough. Where people were finding images online and then making them into puzzles, and then trying to sell them for like $2 games that are that are marked down to like 99 cents.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, but now they're just doing AI hot women, and they're like hentai.
Yes, so Adam Conover had a podcast interviewing Ed Zitron, who's a tech reporter. And I think one thing they talked about is we've seen those demonstrations of AI animation,
Yeah.
and it looks cool. So the issue that Ed Zitron brings up is there's no flexibility with that. Like, if you were filming someone walking down the street, you could tell them, oh, walk differently for this take.
Uh-huh.
And with AI animation, you would have to re-render the whole project to have a different walk.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah, because it's just generating things. It's not thinking about something. Yeah, there's these things where we kind of want to assume that technology is always going to be cheaper and it's always going to be getting better, because that's how the most impactful technologies in our lifetimes have been.
Yeah.
But we seem to be forgetting that not all technologies have this pathway, and if you can't see a pathway for that technology to reach where it claims it's going to be, then we should be very skeptical. So back to robotics notes, the other technology I want to talk about is augmented reality, which does play quite a prominent role in the show.
Yeah, it was Pokemon Go before Pokemon Go was cool.
Has AR technology ever overtaken the peak that was the Pokemon Go craze?
I don't think so. And the problem is that, like, if you play Pokemon Go, it's not, like, it's sometimes efficient to use the AR stuff because, like, you can move where you're standing to capture the Pokemon, so you can make capturing the Pokemon easier. But, like, most of the time, I never did it because, like, it's like when you don't use the AR stuff, you just kind of, they're always in, like, this like, arena, but, like, when you're using the AR stuff, like, you can kind of move closer to it, which makes throwing the ball easier.
I'm sure the technology has improved. It's just that I don't know if the cultural relevance of it has improved.
No, not really. I think I saw with like Meta, like with one of their Oculus thing. I think they're trying, and I think like Vision Pro, like the Apple thing they brought out a year ago or so, where I think like I think they're trying to bring AR back. I mean, you when you were in college had to write a report about Google Glass, and that was all AR stuff.
Yeah, that broke me.
Yeah, I mean that was like extremely. That was like around the time that this show came out was when Google Glass was like.
Oh gosh, it was.
Yeah.
And the show does use AR really creatively.
Yeah. I like the fact that their robot that they make that eventually works. Like they don't design it really. Like they don't actually make it artistically look like it originally. Like they make it so that if you put your tablet, because like everybody in the show, I mean, this is where the show kind of was based but unbased. 'Cause I don't even think the show contemplated how good technology would become in terms of smartphones and stuff. Because everybody is using like 'cause a lot of people are just carrying around these honking like tablets everywhere.
Yes.
Like, it is so weird to see the main guy basically have a holster for a tablet. And it's like, it's not like an iPad, it's more like a Nook. Okay, that's really bad. Like a really small like an iPad mini. Like, it's still really weird to imagine carrying that on your side.
Right. Well, now you just have a giant smartphone brick
Yeah.
that you carry around.
But like, so how the AR works with it, like you could, and this is something that's really cool, and I still think that this is like the most underrated part of AR stuff, and this is like that lost technology and vision of having things that you interact with that change when you look at them through a different lens. That's still really cool stuff, and
Yes.
like there's still to me like this lost art, but it's like it's such a niche idea, AR technology.
I mean, a lot of these technologies kind of fail at the point where the technology meets the material realities of the world.
And practicality.
Yeah, so like an AR program that can react to the real world changing
Yeah.
is like that's going to be hard. Just like a lot of blockchains that were being pushed.
Yeah.
The big problem was someone could say this is what's happening in the blockchain, but if they don't do the thing in real life, now it's on the blockchain is just a fan fiction.
I just realized that I was about to describe something to you that I don't think you would understand. When I was at the grocery store today, which you don't really go to the grocery store, so you don't understand what I mean by this. But there's one of those coin machines that you put your coins in and you get money out of. Well, these coin machines was like advertising crypto. You could put coins in this and you could get crypto. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is so dumb. Really?
Wow.
I know.
It's the grift economy.
It's the grift economy. I also think like the thing with AR is that like AR is actually like extremely extensive amount of work to it because you have to build so much. And like, I think that's where like if like the AR and the AI of like now meshed, like a lot of the show makes more sense with like AI that would help like on the back end, maybe like help with some things with like the like like making, so if you look at something and maybe help it so like it translates it automatically when you look at it, but like even that would take a lot of work like to automatically translate.
I mean, we have that now, right?
Yeah, I guess we do. Oh yeah, we do.
We have Google Lens.
With Google Lens, yeah.
And the newer Samsung Galaxy phones are also trying to experiment with that. They're even trying to experiment with real-time
Translation?
call translation, like for spoken translation on your phone calls.
It's a very weird ethical.
It's not there yet, but I don't know what the limits of that technology are.
I have seen trash reactionary interviewers like going around and interviewing people in like like Aurora, Colorado, and asking if Venezuelans, and so they will just talk to their phone and then say and use Google Translate and then just go and talk and ask these people the questions in Spanish about are there roving Venezuelan gangs. And also the same guy also interviewed
Gosh.
and interviewed Haitians and just did like that with French. And I'm just like, do you
know when Okabe and Steins put us on this timeline where Maxi Kurisu was saved? It's still a flawed timeline, and it's all Okabe's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a depressing world line we're in.
It is a depressing world line. Even though this robotics notes does exist in the world line that Okabe created.
That's true. So maybe we are in one of the other lines where Kirisu doesn't die. But Mr. Braun probably still lived.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Braun's daughter is in robotics notes as an adult.
Yeah.
And she doesn't seem to have been like traumatized by her father dying young. So I'm assuming Okabe saved Mr. Braun.
And is not time traveling every year using the brainwave machine to go back in time to kill Okabe.
If this is not making any sense to you because you haven't watched Steins Gate, watch Steins Gate.
It's really good. It's really good.
And if you want a more lighthearted, relaxing version, watch Robotics Notes.
And if you want the best one, watch Chaos Head.
Don't watch Chaos Head.
It's the best one. These eyes, who are they? Those eyes. It's great. It's a 10 out of 10 anime. It's one of the best shows ever made.
So the last thing I want to talk about Robotics Notes is the music. There's a song from the OST. I think the song is also called Robotics Notes, and it's by the composer Yuki Hayashi.
Uh-huh.
And no, it's a great song that helped me through many hard times. It does give me a bit of a Smooth Criminal vibe at times, but it's like orchestral.
Uh-huh.
And it's wonderful. I was looking into Yuki Hayashi. Apparently he was a rhythmic gymnast.
Really?
And in the gymnastics you dance to music, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got interested in making music. So he like started making music as an adult. Like he wasn't musically inclined as a kid.
My theory of his journey is he watched Touch. He's like, wow, that girl in Touch was hot. She was a rhythm gymnastic. They did rhythm or gymnastic, but then he's like, whoa, I like anime. I should make music.
No? But yes, so Robotics Notes, it's just great.
Yeah.
The music is great, and
Characters are great. There's characters we didn't even talk about. There's plot lines we didn't talk about. It sounds like there's a lot, even looking at the Wikipedia article and reviewing this, I'm like, maybe there's more of this that's in like in the visual novel. Because like it talks about this thing called like Committee of 300, and I'm like, I don't remember the Committee of 300.
I vaguely remember that because I think those are the people who are planning to eradicate most of the world's population.
Oh.
And I think that is also based on a real-life conspiracy theory.
Wow.
Yes, so thanks for listening to this slightly convoluted and loopy podcast.
Yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed it the same.
And where can they find us?
Oh yes, if you have anything to tell us, and it can be loopy and convoluted too, just send us a manifesto at marxistclover@gmail.com.
Or like the podcast, share it, or comment.
That's true on your podcasting platform.
On your podcasting platform, from any device you possibly could be. It could be anywhere from a Zune to an iPod. It's possible.
To that in between big yet small tab
Yes.
that Yashiro uses.
Yes. Please listen to that on the go. Please let Yashiro have that with you all the times. Please just have a
Get a holster.
basically have a. I mean, going back to that, you know what? We can have a class diatribe. A tablet isn't big enough to be a decent tablet. It's almost big, but it's also not small enough to be a phone. Like, it almost feels like it's almost a phone. Like, almost a modern, like, one of the bigger phones.
Yeah, like if you get some of the flagship phones now,
Yeah.
it's probably pretty close to that size.
No, it's weird. But yeah, if you want to do it on that, that's fine.
Mhm.
And I think this has been a great journey. Watch it.
Yes. Yeah, because we're realizing we're not always going to be talking about shows we love.
Yeah. We do love this, and there's more we could talk about with this show. I mean, we started talking about other shows we love.
Yes, and so you should watch it and then talk to us at marxistclover@gmail.com.
Yeah.
I'm Eric Hobbs Bond, and this is my host, the Angles Next Door.
Hello and goodbye.
And
Have a great
have
day.
a great day.
Or night. Or morning. Or afternoon.
That's true.
Or late at night.
We don't discriminate about time zones.
We are not advocating for what happens in the cloud of the right answer, where you don't